If you are expecting a child, or if you've had a child and the man vehemently protested against it, or if you acted in a manner that was less than honest by convincing the man you couldn't get pregnant, or if you were unmarried and thought that by having a baby this would keep your partner, or if your partner is no longer in your life at the time of conception, you are a profoundly selfish individual who has deliberately ruined not only your life, but the life of your child. You have not only made it exponentially more difficult for yourself, emotionally and financially, but the deprivation of the most integral part of your son's upbringing, a man, will prove to be a task insurmountable for a woman. Modern single mothers who choose to have children, namely sons, never take into account the toll this will have on their son's psychological and emotional development. There has never been or existed a single mother who, upon hearing the news she is giving birth to a boy, taken the initiative, much less had the curiosity, to research statistics as it relates to the myriad of problems that await your fatherless son. The very qualities synonymous with manhood, work ethic, confidence, strength, leadership, have literally been decimated by outright ignorance, ego, and gender superiority. Feminist attitudes tend to be hostile towards strong male figures, thus relegating your son to a subordinate position as it relates to all things feminine. Moreover, a very acute dichotomy exists among mothers and sons that is not unlike that which exists between man and woman. That is to say, women are ignorant and hard-hearted to the male experience, and therefore, given sole proprietorship in the raising of men, poses a manifold of problems. Single modern mothers have been told they can contend with and impute on their sons the superficial qualities of male presence. In many cases, this equates to overcompensation regarding disciplinary action. Nonetheless, this is absurd and egregiously insufficient. It is a useless notion to assume women can empathize with the male struggle. It is of only sound reason to know and believe they benefit from it. And if such a woman is already a single parent, one can assume her choice in and idea of men is already lacking, making her ability to cultivate a man futile. Women fail to realize that adulthood lasts much longer than infanthood, and one day your son will want to know why his father has forsaken him. A man's experience is diametrically unique to his maternal stewards, and that the world he is born into has clearly defined with a stark and cold reality what is expected of him. The single modern mother, whose total lack of foresight engendered such a feckless decision to begin with, will ultimately be the impetus to the destruction of the son-mother relationship. Nature has engineered humans to need DNA from both men and women to exist, yet it is woman and woman alone who believes herself fit to supersede the authority of the universe. If the gods see it necessary for two beings to coalesce in the most trivial part of the creation process, then why would it be logical to jettison half this system for the more lengthy and critical period of child development? As a single modern mother, it becomes clear that a man is needed after all, to elevate her and the child's standard of living. Ignorant is the woman, however, who believes that money is the only definable and useful quality that a man possesses in order to add value to the hypothetical family. Because the biological father is absent, and the pressure and stress of raising a boy by herself is beginning to take its toll, the mother succumbs to desperation. She will begin to look for any male suitor to supplant the void that has remained uncovered, oftentimes to the detriment of the child. The fact of the matter is, no one will treat your son in a manner more appropriate than the man who truly desired to have him, not one whose DNA was marauded by a being who was so immature as to not recognize and accept the role she played in choosing to fornicate irresponsibly and failing to use any precautions to prevent a fractured life. Hubris is omnipresent, as the variation of male influence is confusing to the child, which again is representative of a matriarch who is so self-centered as to be incapable of feeling empathy for her own progeny. It stands to reason that the single mother has herself suffered greatly as a child in some form or another, and conflates intrapersonal issues with interpersonal ones, and she often represses psychological trauma that remains dormant but has become more insidious. Sadly, the single modern matriarch has been elevated to a state of apotheosis, which proves incorrigible as one who sees themselves as infallible and above reproach. As we are all born into a losing struggle, no doubt, it is inevitably compounded by not only the actual indigence, but the emotional bankruptcy of the single modern mother. Not only is the child estranged from the father, but he will also become estranged from himself. Imagine never knowing the origin of your thoughts, your mannerisms, your smile, your hands, your eyes, your soul. The reflection looking back at you is fragmented, just like your family. You'll never know your father's relatives, cousins, uncles, grandparents. The very essence of your being is empty. The only family that exists is that in which the matriarch sees fit. After all, you are her property, and your life belongs to her and her alone. Your father is an afterthought, as is your manhood.